Good morning. Gyeonggi-do Provincial Governor Nam Kyung-pil meets with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, requesting the leader to take steps towards a summit. Attacks continue ahead of a scheduled four-way peace summit in Belarus. At least 7 are confirmed dead, with dozens injured. It's located in the middle of Korea's capital and offers the best views, Namsan Mountain, and we'll be checking out the sights around there. And Samchi, or Spanish mackerel, keeps your bones strong, helps prevent stroke and heart disease. We have a tasty Samchi treat coming up on Korea Today, Wednesday, February 11th, 2015.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday morning on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Seo Mi-sorang and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. So the famed Pyeongchang Trout Festival came to an end last week after a 50 or so days run. Have you guys checked that out? Did you guys get a chance to?
No.
Well, if you didn't get a chance, you're in luck because the organizing committee is offering freestyle trout fishing until this weekend.
Oh, that's perfect. For those of you who might have missed that, this weekend might be the last opportunity that you have because the weather is actually getting a lot warmer and you never know exactly when the ice is going to thaw. And that trout is tasty. I'll tell you that right
It's
now.
going to cost you, though, around 10,000 won or $10 per person. But the good thing is, whatever you catch, you can take home. There's no limit on that.
Oh, really? So you can catch
Because
10 or 15 and just go ahead and bring it home.
down to 3.
Right.
There was a limited amount you can take home.
During the festival, but not now.
Okay.
But I know you've been to trout fishing.
Well, yeah, I've been trout fishing and I enjoy it not cooked. You're not supposed to have it cooked. I'll be honest with you. You have to have it raw. That is the way to do it. It's one of the very few, I've said it before, very few freshwater fish that you can actually eat raw.
Oh, my mouth is watering.
Enjoy it. It is sweet. Tastes so clean.
Well, plenty of fish in the ocean, or in the stream in this case.
Yep.
All right, well, let's now get a check on the stories making headlines this morning. A South Korean politician has met with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and asked that Japan adopt a more forward-looking approach to the issue of its past military sexual slavery so that the two neighboring countries can hold a bilateral summit. Governor of Gyeonggi-do Province Nam Kyung-pil, who's on an official visit to Japan, held a 30-minute conversation with the Japanese leader on Tuesday and asked that Tokyo extend an olive branch to Seoul regarding the victims of military sexual violence, the issue that has been the stumbling block to improving ties between the two nations. Prime Minister Abe responded by saying he is well aware of the suffering of the women and that he looks forward to having a one-on-one with President Park. The Korean provincial governor is expected to deliver the message to the Korean president upon his return.
Korea is taking the steps towards attempting to normalize diplomatic relations with Cuba, which could help expand the scope of diplomacy for Seoul and countries in Central and South America. Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se told lawmakers that Korea will seek to establish bilateral relations with the communist country, which North Korea has maintained ties with since 1960. This marks the first time South Korea's foreign minister made a public mention of Seoul's efforts to establish ties with Havana, and comes following the surprise announcement in December that the United States and Cuba will restore diplomatic ties severed over half a century ago.
Korea's gross tax revenue plunged into the red last year by a whopping 11 trillion won. That's about $10 billion, falling short of the government's forecast by an all-time high. Seoul's finance ministry said Tuesday last year's tax revenue posted 205 trillion won, or roughly $187 billion, a significant shortfall from the year before, due largely to decreased corporate tax that stemmed from poor corporate earnings. The ministry also cited sluggish domestic demand and the strengthening Korean won against the U.S. dollar, which have dented value-added taxes and customs duties.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, at the National Assembly, the two-day confirmation hearing for Prime Minister nominee Lee Wan-gu began yesterday morning, where he was grilled pretty badly by opposition lawmakers. Now, this is on all the papers this morning, as you see his face here on all the front pages. We'll go ahead and look at it on Joseonilbo first. And it's called Opposition Demands Disclosure of Lee Wan-gu's audio recordings. So Lee's fate seems unclear at this point, as he faces many allegations, the biggest among them being his attempt to manipulate the media. If we go ahead and look at the sub-headlines, a representative of the main opposition party raised fresh allegations during the hearing yesterday that Lee threatened to make a phone call to editors if a reporter published negative articles about him. And opposition lawmakers demanded an audio recording of Lee's remarks during a luncheon be played at the hearing, but the ruling party refused, prompting the opposition to disclose the file in the National Assembly's press area. Now, in the audio recording, Lee claimed that he had boosted several journalists into positions as professors or presidents of universities based on his personal friendships with them. And on this, Lee said he feels deep remorse and apologized to the press as well as to the public for his inappropriate behavior. Now, switching gears, going to another headline on Dongguk on the side. And this one is about a consultative body that will be launched. The header says, consultative meeting between ruling party, government, and presidential office to open every other week. And looking at more details here, the president agreed to set up this consultative body with the ruling party and the government as part of efforts to better coordinate policies following a series of policy blunders recently. Now, the meeting will be held twice a month, and the inaugural session is expected to be held after the Lunar New Year's Day. Also yesterday, Park once again pressed for parliamentary measures to revitalize the Korean economy. She said that cooperation from the National Assembly is urgently required to pass relevant bills, and she wishes that the ruling Saenuri Party will strengthen its role to make this happen. And now on to another headline on 중앙일보. This one on the side. This one is called U.S. virtually opposes President Park's attendance at Russia's Victory Day celebrations. Now, Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes at a news briefing on Monday stated that U.S. President Barack Obama will not be attending Victory Day celebrations in Moscow this coming May. Now, we're talking about Russia's celebrations for the 70th anniversary of their Allied victory over Nazi Germany. Now, the U.S. cited reasons such as disagreements over Ukraine for Obama's decision not to attend this event. Of course, Russia has been accused of sending troops and supplying rebels with military aid, which has allegedly intensified the crisis in Ukraine between the government and pro-Russia rebels. By taking this stance, the paper says the U.S. is virtually opposing Korea's attendance in the event as well, as it could present conflicting signals to Russia. And on this, Seoul's foreign ministry says that President Park's attendance will be decided upon after considering various factors related to Korea's national interest. And finally, we'll take a look at the Korea Economic Daily for this top headline regarding donations. And it says donations to SNU fall due to tax credit deduction. And taking a look at the sub-headlines here for more detail, the Daily says that due to the reduction in tax benefits, a lot of individuals, especially high-income earners, have become more reluctant to making donations to universities. Now, large sums of donations that used to be made, especially to some of the top local universities, including Seoul National University, Seonggyungwan, Hanyang, and Jungwon universities, they have decreased significantly in their amounts last year, resulting in a state of emergency at these campuses. Now, that was a look at our local headlines this Wednesday, and now following are the stock numbers from Tuesday.
Time now to get a check on the weather. This morning is off to a rather chilly start, about 1 degree Celsius.
Yeah, that's right. But it's a vast improvement from the weekend as well as yesterday morning. So we'll get a check on today's weather with Chun Sung-cho. She joins us from the Yongsan Family Park. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning, guys. A cold snap that lasted for the past couple of days made way for warmer weather, with temperatures hovering back up above freezing all day yesterday. Even right now this morning, it's currently just 1 degree Celsius here in Seoul. But with the warm weather came smog as well, turning the air conditions hazy and unpleasant. The reason behind the trend of warm temperatures is the warm westerly winds blowing all the way from China. But the problem is it's transporting air containing high levels of particulate matter with it. The concentration of fine dust is 3 to 5 times higher than average, and its alert system has been raised to bad in many areas all around the nation. The greater metropolitan area of Seoul especially is recording some higher concentration, so it'd be a good idea to wear a mask on your way out this morning. Most of all, people with respiratory problems, seniors, and children are advised to avoid spending extended periods of time outdoors, as they can be more vulnerable to the bad air quality. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's weather around the nation. Look at the high temperatures in store for us today. Midday highs range from 6 in Seoul to 12 degrees in Busan and Jeju. The afternoon will be mild and comfortable with partly cloudy skies in most regions, though some parts of the southwestern regions and southwestern Gangjeong province are expected to receive some scattered drizzles. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to the studio, Yang.
It was a confirmation that family members were not hoping for. The 26-year-old American aid worker has been confirmed to be dead after being held captive by the Islamic State group in Syria. And for more on this, we connect to Eunice Kim at the News Center. Eunice, good morning. The confirmation, it came from the White House as well as the family, right?
Good morning, Young. That's right. U.S. authorities say Kayla Mueller's family did receive a private message from IS with what they said was, quote, additional information, which did in fact confirm that she was dead. Now, it went on to say that it was still unclear the circumstances of how she had actually deceased. You may remember last Friday, the extremist group had alleged the 26-year-old was killed in the IS stronghold of Raqqa in a Jordanian airstrike, but they did not offer any proof to back that up. Now, her family a short time ago held a press conference urging people to remember not just Kayla, but also Syria, the country that she had died trying to serve. Now, they also released a letter their daughter had written to them while she was being held that showed her to be a courageous and selfless individual. This development comes as multiple sources say the White House will send Congress an authorization for the use of military force to fight IS on Wednesday. The president is expected to ask for a 3-year authorization. It will also leave open the option to send in ground troops if needed.
And staying with the IS, the group has hacked the Twitter account of a popular American magazine to issue a threat against the family of the U.S. President Barack Obama.
Yeah, that's right. And this after the extremist group itself was hacked by the hacking group Anonymous, which disabled the Facebook and Twitter accounts of the IS group, posting a YouTube video in which it promises to expose the group you see there. The Islamic State group did hack into Newsweek magazine's Twitter account on Tuesday and posted a threat targeting the family of President Obama, posting a banner with the words Cyber Caliphate and Je suis IS. It tweeted hashtag Michelle Obama, we're watching you, you girls, and your husband. Newsweek was able to clear up that its Twitter feed by mid-morning. This as the global hacking, or rather, I already told you about that, but U.S. officials are also saying that the government is working on establishing a new cybersecurity agency, citing the Sony cyber attack a game changer, which had also pushed cybersecurity to the top of President Obama's 2015 agenda.
And Eunice, there's an important meeting that we're keeping watch on that will take place later today in Belarus, a 4-way top-level peace summit on Ukraine.
Right, and it'll be a closely watched summit among the leaders of Ukraine and Russia, as well as their German and French counterparts who are mediating this meeting. And on its eve, fighting in eastern Ukraine did kick up as either side is trying to make gains. Pro-Russia rebels launched rocket attacks on the residential area as well as a key military base in Kramatorsk. Officials say that at least 7 civilians were killed while dozens of others were hurt. An imprint of a rocket strike was visible on the ground of Ukraine's military headquarters. This as a volunteer battalion called Azov, fighting on the side of Kiev, did launch an offensive against the separatists near Mariupol. Now, lower-level officials have begun to arrive in the Belarusian capital of Minsk, where again those leaders of Ukraine, Russia, Germany, and France will try to bring peace to the war-torn region. They are expected to discuss a new demilitarized zone and withdrawing heavy weapons, among other topics.
All right, thank you very much, Eunice, for the update on the world news.
You bet.
All right, and still ahead on Korea Today. Now, it's located in the middle of Seoul and easily accessible for just about everyone. We're talking about Namsan Mountain, of course. Now, what is there to enjoy on and around the mountain? The details are coming up. We're going to take a trip right there and see what's above, around, and beyond.
He is known as the ambassador for Korean literature and also as Seoul's honorary citizen. Professor Charles Montgomery is a power blogger who writes about Korean literature, and he joins us right here in the studio this morning. Welcome to our show, or I should say welcome back to our show. You were here in the studio for an interview some 2 years ago, I remember. I'm sure a lot of activities and a lot of projects you've embarked on since then, and one of them being the Wikipedia project, which is about enlisting and registering Korean authors in Wikipedia entries. Tell us about that project.
Well, that project began with Shin Kyung-suk and her book, Please Look After Mother, or Please Look After Mom, depending on whether you buy it in the UK or US. And I met the translator who said, oh, this is probably going to be an Oprah book. And I thought, that's outstanding because Oprah books sell. And so I raced home, as I would, to my computer, and I searched for Shin Kyung-suk and found no information. And I thought that was a problem, that basically
little information is available.
English language readers find authors they're interested in on the Wikipedia, and they find more information, more books, biography. The cult of biography for authors is big in the West. So I contacted Shin Kyung-suk's publisher, and Shin Kyung-suk's publisher sent me all this information, and that started it.
How many authors have you been able to register
Later
so
on in
far?
that project, LTI Korea became involved, and so we worked on about 350 pages. Slightly less than 200 of them brand new from scratch, authors who simply weren't there.
Right.
And in 7 languages, although not all in all 7 languages, primarily English, French, and German. So we really put up a lot of information about Korean authors.
Wow. Now, your main activity, though, is your blog. And you've mentioned elsewhere that your readership is expanding. It used to be mostly in Korea, but now you're getting hits from all places around the world. Tell us about that.
Basically 120 countries or so, although some of those are like 2 hits a year from smaller countries that don't speak English. Yeah, when the blog began, almost 50% of the hits, the numbers were very small, and 50% of them or so were coming from Korea, which was not what I wanted, because I wanted this to be an international tool for making knowledge about Korean literature available. And now it's really changed. Now the hits from within Korea have dropped down to about 20% or below, and US far and away the most interested country. And then some countries you wouldn't even think about. The Philippines love Korean literature, which I would never have guessed, but I look
on
at
top of K-pop and K-culture.
I should say, except in the US, most of this comes on top of K-pop and the Hallyu.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Now, let's jog your memory a little bit. The first Korean book that you picked up and read is Our Twisted Hero by
Yes.
Lee Mun-yeol. And what did you find so fascinating about that book, and also about Korean literature in general? What is so unique and beautiful about it?
The thing that I found really outstanding about that book was it was universal in a way, so that I could understand that story. If you've read that story, it's about a boy who moves to a new school,
right.
and it can be read as a bullying story. It can be read as a Lord of the Flies type story or something like that. But also, quite clearly, even when I was reading it, I understood it was a metaphor for something else. And I was interested in what this other thing was. I couldn't access it at the time. I couldn't figure out exactly what it was about. And that made me start being interested in Korean literature, because I knew there was additional meaning to it that I was not immediately seeing.
Are you seeing it now that you're in the country and living in the country?
It makes all the difference in the world, of course, but if you start with books that you can understand and move gradually, you will start to come to some understanding of what Korea is like. And more important to me, maybe, what Korea's history is and the remarkable achievements that Korea has made. It's all represented in the literature, because the literature is intensely national.
Right. And Our Twisted Hero was translated into English in 2001.
Right.
Fast forward 10 years, Please Look After Mom by Shin Kyung-suk was translated into English in 2011. It became an international hit.
Right.
I read the Korean version of it, and it's amazing how the international audience is able to grasp the very subtle and very difficult concepts in Korean culture. And I would hate to be the translator, because it's not an easy book to translate. Tell us about some of that. And do you think some of it gets lost in translation?
Of course, something gets lost in translation. Translation is impossible. Brother Anthony, a noted translator and Korean naturalized citizen, says translation is impossible, which is why we have to do more of it. Meaning you just have to keep doing it to get stuff through. I read some poetry by Park Mo-gwal when I was down in Gyeongju, and I read it in Korean. And in Korean, you could hear the beautiful sounds, the sibilant sounds, and the vowels matching. And in English, that simply doesn't come through.
Right.
So the translation job is to get the meaning through more than anything else. And in Please Look After Mom, the beautiful thing is that it not only had that very specific sort of a sense of Han about the loss of the mother and the importance of the family to Korea, but it also had a mother-daughter story that English-speaking readers could latch onto. Oprah readers would identify with that story immediately. And sure enough, Oprah chose it as one of her books, and it went into the top 10 in the New York Times bookseller list, and it became a smash. And she is now the first international star of Korean literature.
Right, and everyone has a mom, so it's something that everyone can relate to.
Right.
You said in past interviews that your Korean is not, I'm sure you're being modest, but your Korean is not that good. Have you ever wanted to pick up a Korean book and read it in Korean, or do you do that a lot?
I'm attempting to do that, actually. I'm taking intensive language courses as we speak. Well, not as we speak, but during this break. And what I tend to read now is poetry, because the poetry is simpler. It's easier to read in one way, in that it's simpler and shorter, and more difficult to read in another way, that it's much more, it contains allusions and things that I often don't get, but it's easier for me to read.
Right, they're short, for sure.
Short, right. And short is a good thing when you struggle with the text.
Right, of course. Now, for our foreign viewers who might be interested in Korean literature, but it just does not, I guess, dare to start and doesn't know where to begin, what's a good Korean book that he or she can pick up and start reading?
I hesitate to say a good Korean book. Koreans love that idea of representative, so they would like one book to cover everything, but one book doesn't cover everything in English language reading. I tend to focus on reader's taste and genre. So I ask, and on my website I have pages that have to do with romance and mystery and things like that. So I recommend, if you like Oprah books, of course, Shin Kyung-suk's Please Look After Mom. You have to get that. If you like existential, sort of why are we here, what does it mean stuff, Kim Young-ha's I Have the Right to Destroy Myself. There are books for each type of reader, and I think that's a more fruitful way for me to give advice about those things. I would never just say, when I first got here, I was first to Korea, that is, I was given 3 Generations, which is about this thick and incredibly difficult, and I couldn't possibly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, someday, and I couldn't possibly understand it. I struggled, and it almost stopped me. It was like hitting a wall. So I asked my people who ask this question or put on my blog, if you're interested in this, read that, because I want more people to start.
Okay, and you've brought with you some books.
Yeah, I brought some examples of books that have been translated this year.
Perfect.
And so this is a kind of evidence of the fact that the translation effort is expanding, getting better, and changing and becoming known overseas.
All right. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your thoughts.
My pleasure.
All right, well, still ahead on Korea. Today we are going to be cooking some samchi dishes, or Spanish mackerel dishes, that will make your bones strong, prevent stroke and heart disease as well. Find out what delicious samchi dishes await on Korean Kitchen, so don't go away.
And many heartwarming stories are trending online today. A hero rescue dog, a trot prodigy as well.
That's right. But first, we are going to meet a woman in her 80s who wrote a special thank you letter to the local police. And let's find out more with our Somi Sorang, who joins us right here in the studio. Tell us all about it.
Okay, so this is not just any thank you letter. It's actually the very first letter that she's ever written in her life, because she only started learning how to write Korean last year.
Amazing.
So this is a letter, and part of it reads, "Dear officers, one night in 2014, you came to look after my sick son, even though it was very late at night. You took him to the police station and took care of him overnight. I'm so grateful. Thank you very much." Now, this elderly woman, she lives with her adult son who has schizophrenia and had a bout of seizure that night. So she's very grateful for that. And she also bought some rice cake. And this is not soju, even though it is in a soju bottle. It's sesame seed oil.
Yeah, that's right. When you meet a lot of the grandmothers who actually harvest their own sesame seed oil, they do give it to you in those little bottles, which is just so convenient.
And they say it's perfect because it blocks the sunlight, so it prevents it from oxidizing.
And you got to read the letter in Korean, though, because, you know, it's got some misspelling that is just so endearing.
It is. It makes it all the more special. And,
touching.
Yeah, very touching. So meanwhile, over in Gyeongsangnam-do province, a rescue dog saves a mountain climber. So a man in his 80s went mountain climbing last Saturday with his friend. Halfway up, his legs became paralyzed and he couldn't move. His friend, also an elderly man in his 70s, went down to seek help. And as a result, over the next 2 days, some 800 people and 7 rescue dogs combed through the mountain looking for the man. And finally, this rescue dog found him unable to move, dehydrated and hypothermic. They immediately flew him to a nearby hospital where he's still recovering.
Good boy.
Good boy. Good boy.
Sure is, right? That's one dog that the rescuee, the person, victim who was rescued, really needs to remember the name of, right?
Right. And speaking of, her name is Thunder.
Oh, it's a she.
It's a she. And ever since she was young, she's 5 years old now. Ever since she was young, she was very active and outgoing, fast, so they named her Thunder. She's one of the 22 rescue dogs nationwide.
Good girl.
Deserves a lot of treat for that one. And people have also been looking up Kim Jun-soo, a trot prodigy. Now, Kim Jun-soo, he's 11 years old and he's been enjoying singing trot, an old Korean pop music genre, since he was young. He learned it from his grandma who raised him. Now, apart from the music though, what he really loves is the smile that he brings to the elderly men and women whenever he sings trot. So he's been volunteering to sing at local festivals, hospitals, volunteer homes. Over 100 performances over the last 3 years. And what's sweeter is that he said when he grows up, he wants to become a dentist so that he can fix all the elderly people's teeth.
And sing trot at the same time. He'll be
Singing dentist.
and singing at the same
More
time.
bang for the buck.
That's right. And wrapping up, Seoul, or Lunar New Year, is just around the corner, which also means it's time to prepare those sebaeton, or cash gifts for the younger ones. Now, sebaeton, they're the best when they're given in fresh, brand new stiff notes. So a lot of banks in preparation will be stocking up on the new notes starting today. Demand is going to be high, so to be fair, most banks will set a limit on how many new notes a person can have. For example, most Kookmin Bank branches will limit it to 10 to 20 of the 10,000 won notes and 4 of the 50,000 won notes.
It's just different when you get the very crisp new bills as opposed to old ones that have been around in the market.
And you feel almost guilty folding them in half to put it in your purse.
You know, I don't know about you guys, but the fact that the banks are actually putting a limit on how many you can get That sounds like a great excuse for me. Hey, I could only get $200,000 or 200,000 won worth, right?
Oh no.
That's perfect. I love
You have
it.
to go around the banks.
No. I'll just go to one.
Thank you, Misorang.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the ongoing investigation over Park Tae-hwan and his doping scandal, where the latest reports expect the Olympic swimmer to face a 20-month ban, putting him in doubt for the 2016 Rio Summer Games. Now, according to reports coming out on Tuesday, Park Tae-hwan is set to leave to Switzerland on the 22nd of the month, where he's set to face a hearing with FINA at the end of the month. There, he's expected to be given a suspension of 16, 20, or 24 months. With Park Tae-hwan most likely set to receive a 20-month suspension. Now, while a 2-year ban will prevent him from competing in the Rio Summer Games, a 20-month ban will give him just 3 months to prepare, which won't be enough time for him to prepare and pretty much end his career. On a brighter note, this past weekend was a memorable one for super rookie Kim Se-young, who won her first LPGA Tour title during the Pure Silk Bahamas LPGA Classic. After her dramatic victory, she jumped quite a bit in the latest world rankings. Now, going into the tournament ranked 40th overall, the 22-year-old jumps up 17 spots after her victory and is now ranked 23rd in the world. Of course, the win also gives her 150 points in the rookie rankings, giving her the early lead. Meanwhile, Lydia Ko, despite finishing a stroke behind Park In-bi, remains the top-ranked golfer for the second straight week, with Park In-bi trailing by just 0.25 points. Now, come June of this year, the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup will kick off in Canada, with Korea hoping to go as far as they can in the tournament, but also hoping for something else come next month. With FIFA set to reveal the host nation for the 2019 Women's World Cup next month in Lausanne, Switzerland, 2 countries are in contention. And those 2 countries being Korea and France. Now, having already given the rights to the U20 Men's World Cup, if they do win the hosting rights to the 2019 Women's World Cup, they will automatically be given the hosting rights to the 2018 U20 Women's World Cup as well, giving them 3 straight years of World Cup events. Now, up until recently, the most popular pirate in Korea was a pirate by the name of Luffy from the ever so popular comic One Piece, right? But now the most popular pirate is a baseball player by the name of Kang Jong-ho. And apparently the interest in Kang Jong-ho is pretty high over in the States as well, as CBS Sports named the Pittsburgh Pirates one of the winners of this past offseason for signing names like A.J. Burnett, Francisco Liriano, and also Kang Jong-ho. And as usual, there's still a lot of skepticism over the former Nexan hero, but they added that the risk is low for the middle infielder. While Kang is set to travel to Florida with his work visa being issued. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
And it's time to talk about the various charms of Seoul City. And joining us, we have Joy. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today. So I went somewhere that's a very popular destination for both tourists and the locals, because you can get a bird's eye view of Seoul, and it's quite a brilliant view. Of course, I'm talking about Namsan Mountain. I came up with a course from Myeongdong to Namsan Mountain, so let's take a look.
All right.
Namsan Mountain, located in the middle of Seoul, stands 265 meters tall, representing the city, and is popular as a tourist destination thanks to its proximity to Myeongdong. There are many ways to get to Namsan, but our course starts in Myeongdong. I've got my camera ready. To make my trip more fun, I decided to take a course through the comic road. This 450-meter long road is dubbed Jimiro, and it stretches between Myeongdong Station and Seoul Animation Station. Walking along Jimiro, you can get to meet various characters from comics, ranging from the good old classics to the latest webtoons. This road was created by some 70 popular comic artists. Cartoon and comic characters perch on parts of the buildings, so it's a perfect spot to take some pictures before reaching Namsan and taking some selfies as well. Now I'm going up the mountain, but instead of hiking, we're taking the Namsan outdoor escalator by the Namsan Tunnel 3.
I was always curious about that little box that goes up.
Instead of walking up the steep steps, people can now catch the Orumi elevator to go up, and it's free. It was really cool because the escalator is made of glass, so people can enjoy the outside view quite easily. And it happened to snow as well, which is really pretty.
I used to walk up the steps, but riding the Namsan outdoor escalator is much faster.
And when you get off the escalator, the Namsan cable platform is just right there. Namsan Cable Car first started operations in 1962 and has been a beloved feature of Namsan Mountain for the past 50 years. It goes up and down the 605-meter distance between the Gangjeong platform and the platform near the peak of the Namsan Mountain. The trip takes about 3 minutes one way. I'm so excited. It's my first time to ride the cable car. While on the way up on the cable car, you can not only enjoy the nature of Namsan Mountain, but also the view of Seoul City getting smaller and smaller.
It's a rather slow ride up, though.
Yeah. You can reach the top of the mountain by walking up the trail once you get off the cable car. The walking trail is quite well maintained. Seoul Tower has a space known as Palgakjeong Pavilion at the summit of Namsan Mountain. Traditional performances are provided for free every day at 3 p.m. except on Mondays. Lots of people are already enjoying the dynamic ceremony performance, and I thought it was pretty cool. Oh wow, they have a live performance. The swordsmanship and bamboo cutting exhibitions performed during the performance show some of the martial arts that the Bonggusu or beacon guards had mastered in the past to protect our land. The audience could even try them out.
Did you ever go? Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. It was really heavy though.
There you are.
There you are.
Let's see, let's have a look.
I was a galloping horse.
Oops,
Dude, nowhere near.
Nice try.
It's really hard. And there was also a photo opportunity you can get after the performance is finished, and so that was kind of cool. It's really tall. The Seoul Tower stands 236.7 meters tall and at the summit of Namsan Mountain. It was first built as a broadcast transmitting tower back in 1969, but the observatory deck was created and opened to the public in 1980. The tower has since become a landmark for the city as well. The locks of love hanging at the roof terrace next to the tower is also a popular sight. Tens of thousands of locks of love left by couples create quite a nice scene. I wrote my wife and my name on one and hung it on the gate.
Aww.
This is her special Valentine's Day present for me.
I wonder how many of them are still together.
Special for my wife.
Hey. Don't go
This rock
there.
on there to stay there forever. Kind of hard to remove. Show my confession of love. To reach the observatory level, you take the elevator at the basement of the level entrance. I'm really curious about what it looks like upstairs, so let's ride the elevator and find out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I see. It gives you a virtual look.
Exactly, like 20 floors in 30 seconds. That's crazy. The moment you get off the elevator, you get a 360-degree panoramic view of the entire Seoul City. This is the first time I got to see the entire Seoul City in one glance. It's really beautiful. It's really pretty. It's perfect. I'm gonna write a love note and mail it from Seoul's highest post office. Let's go buy it. This is the Sky Post Office. It's the highest post office in Seoul where you can write and send letters and postcards.
Did you write a letter to your wife again?
Yeah, I'm kind of cheesy.
Sweet.
So when the sun sets at night and the day view
Wow.
it's completely different from the night view. The night view of Seoul is a must-see, brightly lit concrete jungle, especially because it looks like shining stars across the land.
You have to go there at night. I think that's another.
The night view.
I think it's great. I love the view. I like coming at night because you see all the lights. It's really beautiful.
Amazing, really. I haven't really done anything like this, so it's fantastic. Get to see everything.
For all the visitors, couples, and others alike, I think it's a very special time that can allow us to put our daily routines behind us and simply enjoy the beautiful views of the city.
You know, I've gone to the N Seoul Tower a number of times, but only during the day.
Right?
I've never checked out the night scene.
I've
Have
never
you?
thought
Yeah,
about
small
going at
children.
night, but it's right, the answer's right there. It's so obvious. Why not, right?
Exactly, and especially, I couldn't agree with you more, especially because N Seoul Tower is considered to be one of the best views in Korea. It lights up at night, and there's a cool secret behind that. Starting in 2011, under an agreement with Seoul Metropolitan City, the tower signals the city's air quality using the lights. Blue means it's a clear day. Red or green means it's there's dust in the air. So
come.
so it's best to kind of avoid going outside.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Didn't know there was a
They need it every
meaning to
time.
that.
What does that pink, a hot pink mean?
Probably means very dangerous.
All right.
Wow.
Well, if you can't see the tower, then definitely don't go.
Don't
right?
go.
Not that it happens a lot. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about the Comics Road, the Chemiro Road. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So when walking along Chimiro, you will reach the comic space Chimirang. It's an exhibition hall that uses the alleyways as a theme. A total of 5 graphic artists, including Won Soo-yeon, created their own ideas of Seoul's signature alleyways, and you can also do many hands-on arts and activities there, including quilt making, and you just check out their Facebook website for more information.
I love how they spelled Semiro with a Z,
Z,
not
yeah.
as opposed to a J.
J.
Just adds more spice
Zing to it.
Exactly.
But they're talking about walks. There's also that stone wall from the cable car platform to the Namsan Mountain. I think walking there would be really nice as well.
Oh, for sure. It's you can see the remnants of the fortress wall around Namsan Park. And one brilliant thing was it kind of tells you about the history. It was built in 1396, surrounding the capital of Joseon in Hanyang. Today, the walls remain standing at Bulgaksan Mountain, Naksang Mountain, Namsan Mountain, and Inwonsang Mountain. The fortress wall course at Namsan Mountain is a wonderful place to enjoy a nature walk. So I'd probably go there on a date with my wife. I recommend it to you and your family as well.
So lovey-dovey, aren't you?
Valentine's Day is just around the corner, so
Newlywed, I think.
Joey Albright, the family guy, right?
thank you guys for having me.
All right,
Thanks a lot.
thank you.
Okay, we're going to be cooking a little bit of fish here in the studio this morning. Jean-Paul Perez joins us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so I understand that Samchi, that's the fish that's in. They call that the Spanish mackerel, right?
Yes, it is. And it's really the signature fish of this month of February. It's really great fish. You find it all around the sea Korean Peninsula. And you even can get all year long in a certain part of it. So it's a great fish full of vitamin D. It's really amazing.
Okay, let's take a look at this. This is a pretty big fish. I mean, this is, when you say mackerel, I'm thinking something about maybe about a quarter of the size, about that big, right?
Yes.
But this is a pretty big catch right here. Tell us a little bit. This is the variety of the blueback mackerel, right?
Yes, it is. It is, and it's one of the biggest mackerel you will find. And compared to, I would say, compared to other mackerel, it's really good, clean taste. So it doesn't get this little bit fishy smell you always find.
Okay, that's the thing about mackerel. You're kind of concerned that when you're cooking it in the home, you smell the fishy smell of it.
Yes.
It does get around the home, and that's one of the concerns that it is. So this is the Spanish mackerel, or Samchi, is not. It doesn't produce that much of a fishy.
Not that much. Not that much.
So when you're looking for the right fish, I mean, when you're going to the supermarket for our everyday viewers, what are some of the qualities to look for?
The most important part is the eye.
Pick that up and then.
You really want a bright and shiny eye to look at. Don't go for the murky one. Another very important thing is...
Look how the eye is so clear right there, right? I guess you want to look at the eye and...
The other important thing is to have a nice, firm body and supple. You don't want something too soft. It's very, very important as well.
Yeah, just as he pointed out, you can see that the eyes of the fish, there's no murkiness to it. It's not completely bloodshot. It's very clear. And the fish, it has an overall very nice color. And it doesn't smell very fishy. Yeah. I don't smell any fish, actually. Okay, so that's how you choose your fish. And now what are we going to cook today?
So today we're going to do a Gangjeong samchi, which is a sweet, crispy samchi.
Okay, samchi?
Yes.
Okay. Gangjeong, when you're thinking about, when you're talking about Gangjeong, I'm thinking about chicken Gangjeong, right?
Yes.
Gangjeong is sort of is it fried? It's fried
Yes.
and then it's marinated, right?
Exactly. We're going to do a shallow fry, and then we're going to cook it with some vegetables. Just a stir fry quickly in vegetable and sauce.
Okay. Well, I don't care too much for the vegetables, but I like the fried. Let's go, Jean-Paul.
Let's go. So I'm going to do like I do at home. I'm going to cut the fish in a little bit of starch. So this is going to be cornstarch, but you can use a potato starch. So just like I do at home. This is just to go very quickly.
Is this like the right way to do it, or is this the Jean-Paul lazy way to do it?
This is the easy way to do it at home.
Okay.
So you don't want...
Genius. I never thought about doing that. I always get him and put him in the batter.
Yeah, but you don't want to have too much as well. You put a little bit of pepper. You know, a little bit.
I don't know you're a little bit. Your little bit differs every single time. So.
Exactly. So when this is done, I put as well some spice. Sometimes I use curry powder. It brings a really nice flavor to it. So that's what I put inside. And as you can see, the fish is already slightly cooked.
So you don't have to worry about over covering it or over coating it with with that, right?
Exactly. So I don't have to use anything else than a sieve. And what you're going to do is you're going to fry it for me, actually.
You know, I'm not sure. Maybe it's the first time for me to see it done this way, but you know, just putting it into a plastic bag and just shaking it around. I mean, the results are just amazing.
You know, it's a bit like Ajuma technique, I would say.
Yeah?
Yes, old lady technique. So.
Well, it's working, that's for sure. All right, so you're going to have me fry this?
Yes.
You sure you trust me?
Yes, I do trust you.
Okay, so we have the oil. How do you know when the oil's hot enough? How do you know when you can actually put it in?
Normally, it's quite simple.
I just put it in and find out?
That's it. As soon as you can just put a bit of the coating inside, and you will see as soon as it starts to bubble, you know it will be working nicely.
Okay.
So I'll let you go for this one.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm going to start to make the sauce, which is just a bit of gochujang. And sometimes I use ketchup for the sweet and sour. Sometimes I use a nice tomato sauce. But today, gochujang and ketchup, a little bit of corn syrup.
Corn syrup seems to be a big ingredient that goes into a lot of the dishes. I mean,
yes, especially in Korea. I will advise people to use honey. For me, I like the flavor of it, and it's a little bit more healthy. Honey, it's always very good. I will put 1 spoon of soy sauce. That's it.
I think
use this one for to drain it.
How long do I know?
Oh, you just make it nice and crispy. Very, very crispy.
Okay.
So normally you can put as well some garlic, crushed garlic. But what I do when I stir fry my vegetables, I prefer to have sliced garlic. I like the chunkiness of the garlic.
Okay. Is that done?
Yes, that would be
that's
fine.
it? All right,
Just put it here. Are you starting to get an expert at it?
You know, you make it so easy for me, I think, Jean-Paul.
So, do you really like the crispy sweet and sour chicken?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see if this recipe is as good.
You know, I'll be honest with you, I like anything that's fried. If it's bad for you, if it has cholesterol, I love it.
So first I'm going to fry a little bit the onions.
Oh, look at that.
Let's do that one.
Oh, put that in too?
Yeah, yes. We make a big dish for everyone. We have a very nice bell pepper as well.
Yeah.
So, as you may know, bell pepper are very nutritious. There is more vitamin in the bell pepper than you can find in many vegetables and even fruits.
Okay, what's the difference between paprika and bell pepper?
I have no idea actually.
All right, I got you there.
For me, I always call it bell pepper.
Okay.
It seems that paprika is what people call mostly in the US.
All right.
So, stir fry. A funny fact is that you find there is 95% more vitamin C in the bell pepper than there is in apple.
Okay.
Okay.
Some more pepper in there.
Yes, always season every ingredient. Not too much because you got the sauce coming in. This one is finished.
Is it all done?
Yes, it's all done.
Actually, the frying process, it's done in so quickly.
In very short amount of time. We add the garlic. Don't add the garlic too early because the garlic might burn. So always when you stir fry vegetables, add it around the end. Okay.
Oh, it smells fabulous in the studio right now.
We're going to cover it. Just 2 minutes.
So can you smell it over there, Minjung?
Definitely. Can you call us over?
I'll come over right now. I mean, I wanted to
It's nearly
prep the
finished.
whole dish, but
It's nearly finished.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, sure.
Okay, I put this away. So what we can do as well to add the extra flavor is to have a little bit, just a few nuts.
Nuts there.
Okay, you can't put only almonds, but I like macadamia a lot actually.
You did a good job
Macadamia nuts,
frying, Young. I'm impressed.
I mean, you just put it in oil. It's no rocket
Takes
science.
care of itself, huh?
Thank God you didn't give me anything difficult to do, because I would have probably messed it up.
And then
And
goes the
just-
sauce.
Just goes the sauce. So start by putting 1 or 2 spoons, small spoon.
Okay. This has become the theme ever since last week, you know?
Woo. So it's not the thick batter, it's just lightly coated,
Yes.
huh?
You don't want to have it too greasy.
And is this fried as well?
Yes, that's a genip, shiso peria leaf, and it's only for the decoration.
Ah, right.
Or you can eat it as well, it's quite
Deep
nice.
fried, it looks a little like eel, you know, chango in Korean.
And this,
Why don't you go ahead and get in the center over there?
and this is done. It's already done.
Oh, it gives you a little bit of a
Yeah,
pop there.
It's peppery.
You want to try the fish?
Yes, please.
Go for it.
I will.
You have one here if you want.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Huh. All right, well,
I'll go
give it
ahead
a small plate.
put it on a small plate
I'm
here.
going to try the bell pepper or paprika or capsicum.
In Australia.
As Misorang has
How many
said.
names does this vegetable
In any case,
have?
it tastes great. I love.
Yeah, it's a very, very nice vegetable.
Oh, so good. This is so good. Jampong.
Juicy and soft on the inside.
It's a very nice way to prepare the fish.
All right, sounds great. This is great especially for kids, I think, because it really strengthens the bones
Yes.
and DHA. Let's not forget that.
The vitamin D is very important in the samchi. So.
And we all saw pretty much what went in there. It wasn't a lot of different ingredients or fatty or bad ingredients, so it is pretty pure there. I think that's great. And I think it's time for someone to bring the rice so we can.
All right, well, this is where we say goodbye on this Wednesday morning.
All right, thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Bye-bye.
Bye.